Hello, today I would like to show you how powerful prototyping can be towards bringing to life the art of the possible for your business stakeholders. You can take modern technology and show them how it can be applied directly to solve their most challenging business needs. Let's look at a fictional company called Widgetopia. Widgetopia is a typical manufacturing company with enough complexity that it has several lines of business and staff functions to support its overall operation. The legal department today spends far too much time and resource searching a great variety of inputs and documents to prepare for litigation and for legal guidance for the firm. They have to deal with an inordinate number of written materials and sources, including presentations, papers, case judgments, etc., in addition to the modern inputs of video, digital photography, and audio files of various formats. The variety and volume of all these materials just chews up way too much time for the legal department to be efficient. So imagine if we put together a landing page for searching for the researchers in the legal department. This could be used by the attorneys, the paralegals, and the research assistants across the board, all of which are very expensive resources for the firm. In the case of a manufacturing company, one of their primary concerns is protecting against liability for product defects of various kinds. So you can imagine that they might, first of all, look at evidence from their own manufacturing environment and their prototype environment from engineering for potential sources of defects that might be headed towards the marketplace and their consumers. Let's look at a couple of images, for example, of how we might start to apply some artificial intelligence to this. In this case, we just plug in the address of a photograph, and here we have some kind of complex wheel mechanism. Looks like maybe it's braking, and in fact, our cognitive software solution has identified some good candidates and scored them the probabilities, and I see a lot of brake and brake system type of themes popping up here, which is what I think it is in this case. And this looks like a functioning normal product in this case. Let's look at something that might be a little more troubling for the legal department. In this case, we have a car that probably wouldn't be viewed as acceptable by most consumers, and in fact might cause them to go run down the street to hire their own lawyer, which is exactly what Wikipedia does not want to, Widgetpedia does not want to happen. And in this case, you can see that our solution has identified that there's some kind of explosion or perhaps even a bomb that's happening here. And it flags things like a fire marshal, which we probably don't want to have involved in our product evaluation from a legal standpoint. So imagine with a little more training of our tool that we could get more specific as to the kinds of flaws that typically might occur with the products that we manufacture. And as we did so, the scoring and identification could become more refined and start catching things that perhaps are coming through the quality control process and yet might be a flag to the legal compliance folks. Additionally, our legal personas have to, again, search a wide variety of materials just to keep current with the legal environment that they're operating in. So I've put together this natural language search, and I've got a small collection of documents that I've gotten from the public arena. And so let's just search on something like automotive defects. Sorry, I've got one of my old searches popping up here, but I'll try to make it unique since it is a natural search and not a keyword search. And when I do that against my collection, the results that our cognitive tool are passing back to us in this case are a set of most relevant passages. And again, they're scored, and we could refine this and get a link back to the original documents. But these are passages from anywhere within the text of documents, whether it's a PDF file or a PowerPoint file, perhaps. All kinds of different formats are searchable. And the passages, again, are a small snippet of what's of the text itself that's considered by our cognitive computing to be relevant. So this is a little bit more powerful often than returning just a title, say, which may not do justice at all to the full 20-page legal dissertation about product liability, and it might be able to narrow in more closely to the specific issues that you're searching for. And from these passages, then the researcher can better, as a human, select the final documents that they want to actually take the time to read in completion. So that gives you a little bit of the idea of that power. And in this example, I also added a simple chat capability in case the folks on staff want to collaborate a little bit. So let me give you a quick example of that working here that I put together very easily. And I'm going to use my phone actually to reply to this. And the delay is my typing more than anything else. There you go. So, and again, this is, I picked up some sample code working on this platform just to get to the idea. You can integrate with much more sophisticated collaboration tools, of course. So how did we put this together? Was this a great effort of programming? And of course, I'll ask you to forgive my design of my web page. I'm not a terribly gifted web designer myself from an artistic standpoint, but I put together something pretty quickly here, and I did it using tooling on IBM's Bluemix platform. This is the view of the Node-RED programming environment, which is one of the runtime environments and development platforms on our cloud named Bluemix. And just to show you quickly, Node-RED is a visual application development environment, as you can start to see quickly. You go through these nodes and you just drag and drop them, and various inputs and outputs, and then different functional nodes that can process data in various different ways. And without going through too much of that, I did want to show you that down here a ways, I have, from a public GitHub site, I've imported nodes that are specific to IBM's Watson cognitive computing tool, and these are a node for each of the application programming interfaces. The major ones for, actually I think they're all of them at the moment are represented here, and it gives you a great starting point for making very sophisticated calls to IBM's cognitive computing technology. And just real quickly, this was a sample piece of code here, or a flow that I picked up, and this is what I started from in my effort. So again, this is publicly available from work people have done and have been willing to share with the community. And if I opened up that old web page, this is what it looked like. And here's the format of the output. And I took that, excuse me, and I just embellished it by by reformatting and doing some work. I quickly learned a little basics about web formatting, HTML, etc., and prettied that up a little bit, and then I merged in with that the query for the discovery tool, the Watson Discovery tool, to do that document searching and that passage identification that I showed you, and I merged it all into one web page. So that's what this top flow is all about. And down here, this simple 3-node piece of code represents the chat capability that I added. And I actually pulled that from another separate sample, and then I just merged it into the same web page. So I wanted to show you that you don't have to be a professional programmer to be able to fairly quickly put together a very powerful demo or prototype for your customer that you can use running live code in the same environment that they might use to develop and run production code for their business. So I hope this gives you some sense of how powerful prototyping can be as you take your code out to constituents. Thank you.